Former gangster Henry Hill on the phone with me this morning. Good morning, Henry.
Good morning, sir.
Henry, for those not familiar with your ties to the mafia and organized crime, give us a little background.
Okay, when I was like 9 years old, they opened up a taxi limousine service across the street from my house. I lived in Brooklyn. And these guys stopped pulling up with Cadillacs and Lincolns and Chryslers, you know. I was a little kid, dyslexic as hell, hypertension deficit disorder, you know, didn't get along in school, didn't get along at home. Everybody was A students at home. I had, 7 siblings. And in school, they kept me out in the hall 3/4 of the time. And these guys liked me. So I started hanging out with these guys and washing their cars and doing this and doing that for them. And the doing this and doing that got me into the mess that I got myself into.
In the book Gangsters and Goodfellas, you said that you could watch the Godfather movies over and over again, but you didn't care to watch the Goodfellas over and over again. Why is that?
I don't know. To me, it's too surreal. I own my past. It was me, but I'm not proud of it.
Uh-huh.
I'm not proud of it. It was 25 years ago I left that life, and been struggling ever since.
Mm-hmm.
But and it took a long time. It was a heck of a process to go through what I went through. In the witness protection program, and we talk about it quite a bit in the book. Gangsters and Goodfellas, and it was just a process. To forgive myself. For the way I acted, in the previous 30 years of my life. And it was, it was something that, I was ashamed of, basically. I think back on it now, and I look at it, I look at my past today, I can't even believe that it's me.
Mm-hmm. Joe Namath was a good friend of yours. How did that come about?
Well, he wasn't a real good friend. He was a friend of mine, He was an acquaintance, a good friend. I guess he was a good friend. He was dating my roommate's, my girlfriend's roommate.
Did he have any mob ties?
Did Joe Namath?
Yeah.
Not that I'm aware of.
No,
they accused him of a few things back in the day. When he had a club in Manhattan. Guys used to come in and frequent the club. What could a guy do? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But he was never mobbed up at all.
You were involved in a point-shaving scheme with a player at Boston College. Were there any other teams?
There's been a lot. I mean, I read the papers like everyone else.
Right.
They got them in every state. And, 1 year, every year there's 1 or 2 teams that they get themselves in a jackpot. It goes on. I mean, they don't pay these college kids. The college kids know the amounts of money that these schools are making off them. And the internet today, it's so simple to make a bet, and it's so simple to throw a ball away. So, go figure. A guy that knows he's never going to make the pros, this poor kid that's working 2 jobs and playing basketball and another sport, and, it's tough on them. I think that they should start paying the collegians.
Can you give us names of people that are or were well known that were or are still involved with organized crime?
Oh, geez. There's hundreds and thousands of them.
Give us a few surprises, Henry.
I don't stay too up on it. Tony Soprano.
There you go.
There's a lot. I mean, the organized crime. It's never going to go away. There's too much money there. Number one, for every person they put in prison, there's 10 in the wings waiting to take its job. It's just a vicious cycle.
How do you?
Our government is on top of it constantly. And it's trying to eradicate them. It's trying to eradicate the. Like the Muslims, these wackos over there in the Middle East,
What do you think the mafioso is involved in today?
What are they involved in today?
Mm-hmm.
Gambling. Strip joints, labor, the same things they were involved in 35, 40, 50, 60 years ago, since Prohibition. When Prohibition ended, the gangs were already in place, and they needed different rackets. And they went into every racket possible that they could play off prey off society. You know, it's a subculture. They don't want to work for a living. They're cowards. I know. I was one. You know, I mean, we thought that we were doing, you know, something. We was doing something important to ourselves. You know, and these people, they don't care about anything but money and greed, and egos. You know.
In the book, you witnessed a number of killings, but nowhere does it say, or in the movie, that you actually killed anyone, did you?
Never did. Hopefully I never will, you know. And I've been very fortunate, you know, even in the service. I walked through the raindrops for most of my life. You know, I lived that life. I lived it well. I was addicted to it, you know. It's something to get addicted to very easily. You know, and today with gangs, I mean, those, you know, your kids out there. Let me tell you something. If you're hooked on drugs, and you know what, and if you're into gangs and into, you know, cliques and crews, you can get out. There's a way out. You know, you don't have to do it. You don't need to do it. Just stay in school, get an education. There's no shortcuts in life. You know, I wish I didn't take any when I was, when I was in school. But, you know, they didn't know what dyslexic was, and they didn't know what hypertension disorder was in them days, and, you know, they treated you a lot differently, you know, like a retard, you know. And, but, you know, so you gravitate towards, towards gangs where you accept it, and, you know, and towards drugs where it makes you feel better, you know, to get out of self. But it's a horrible, horrible existence, you know. I lived in fear every day of my life when I was in that life. Today I don't live in fear. You know, I look over my shoulder a little bit, but, you know, I just don't live the way I used to live.
Are there people today that still want you dead?
Oh, I'm sure, but they don't have the, they have enough of their own problems today. They're not going to come after me. There's no one left from that whole era that's got a beef with me.
You went into the Witness Protection Program in 1980. Tell us about that.
It was horrible. It was a culture shock, to say the least, but it saved my life. I'm so grateful to the government in that program for doing that. But it was difficult. You know, a guy from Brooklyn, they stick me in, you know, Omaha, Nebraska was the first place, the second place. Independence, Kentucky, I mean, come on. You know, from, you know, a guy that was born and raised in Brooklyn, didn't know how to write a check, you know, didn't have a driver's license, social security card. It was very difficult, and it was a whole process that I go through to forgive myself for what I had done all those previous years, you know. And but I survived. My family survived, and, you know, God bless America that they have.
You testified in Italy about the long tradition of laundering money through the Vatican Bank. How scary was that? And do you think
that was very scary? Going out there and testifying, you know. You know, I didn't understand what they were saying in the courtroom. The courtrooms were mayhem. You know, you know, I had an interpreter that was interpreting out of a book.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, it was scary as hell, but I went over and did it. You know, I was asked to do it. The government, our government made a treaty with the Italian government, and you know, I did what I had to do. You know, you know, sometimes you don't like to do what you have to do, but you do it.
Vatican Bank do you think they're still laundering money for organized crime?
No, I don't think the casinos, you can't get away with it anymore, but they do it other ways. They do it through linen and food and this and that. They got their clutches still there, you know? It's nothing like it used to be.
At the end of the book,
you have illegal gambling today, you know, and legal gambling. You have so much of it that you know they don't give credit with illegal gambling. So that's why the bookmaker will always be around.
Gangsters or organized crime, they are involved in what we think is legal gambling. Is that true?
Absolutely.
Listen there, folks.
Yeah, I mean, every time you go on the internet and make a bet, hello, you're supporting organized crime. Every time you light up a joint, hello, you're supporting organized crime. I don't want to be so.
At the end of the book, you talk about having a conscience, given the type of things the gangsters do. At the end of the book, and you've touched on it a little bit here this morning, you talk about having a conscience, given the type of things the gangsters do. what's the deal here, Henry? Do they become numb to human suffering?
I suffered a lot in my life. I mean, you know, because of my conscience. You know, I'm an Irish Catholic, and I converted to Judaism, you know, when I got married to my first wife. So I'm afflicted by all the demons of guilt.
But it's hard for us to understand how these people can do the things they do. They're so horrific.
That's why they do it.
They why now, Henry?
They're sociopaths. Sociopaths.
And that's why they do it? That's the motivation?
Well, you know, they do it for greed. They do it for ego. And, you know, and money. You know, and money. I mean, it's, you know, but bottom line is money.
The money steals your conscience?
Well, it doesn't steal your conscience. Eventually, you know, your conscience will come back to haunt you. But it'll certainly get you the money, you know, at the time, you know, but, you know, it's not God's will, it's your will, you know.
You're in the movie business today. Is that working out for you, Henry?
Pardon?
You're in the movie business today.
I'm an author of a couple of books, and I made a few movies. Yeah, you know, I'm trying to make a living. That's what I'm trying about. You know, I have one 14-year-old son left to put through college and medical school or law school. So, I mean, you got to work. I've never worked so hard in my life. At the age of 61. I'll be 61 this week.
Well, happy birthday.
Thank you.
When's what day this week?
Friday, the 11th.
You have struggled most of your life with alcohol and drugs. How goes the battle for you today, Henry?
How's it? Today I'm clean and sober. And yesterday I was clean and sober. And I pray to God that tomorrow I'll be clean and sober. You know, it's a daily battle. You know, it's a one-day program. You know, you know, I worry about today. I'm not taking that first drink or the first fix or the first anything. You know, I'm an addict and an alcoholic, and that's what you do. You know, you just try to stay away from it one day at a time. You know, and you don't mind screw yourself. You know.
Do you have contact with the folks still that are involved in the mafioso?
Only law enforcement. You know, and guys, you know, I go to Quantico, I teach, I teach a lot of conventions, you know, I go to a lot of conventions and talk about organized crime. I have a few old friends that have came to me over the years with scripts and treatments and this and that, and they want to, you know, they want their story told, and, you know. So, and then they're mad at me. I'm a little like a liaison between the mob and Hollywood, I guess.
The book, Gangsters and Goodfellas, written by Gus Russo. You've told him the story and he wrote it. That's what I'm understanding here.
Nominated this year for the outfit.
I couldn't put it down. I read most of it in one sitting. It's a powerful book, Henry.
Thank you for that compliment.
And I guess it's available in all the major bookstores? Is that right?
Major bookstores, Amazon. You can get it on my website. And you kids out there, if you got any problems with alcohol, drugs, gangs, email me on my website, and I will get back to you. I will put you together with the right authorities and the right people in your neighborhood or your area.
Go ahead.
It's GoodFellaHenry.com.
That was going to be my next question, Henry. So,
thank you.
Anything that I haven't touched on here this morning?
You're a great interviewer.
You know, Henry, you're an interesting guy, and my hope for you is that your path from this point on is free of violence and addictions. And I want to thank you, Henry, for being so.
Listen, I own my past. I'm not proud of it. I have to. It's part of my life. But I try to be a grain of sand better today than I was yesterday.
Well, by being open, you know, we can all benefit from the mistakes that you made, Henry.
Yeah, you know, listen, if I can change, anybody can change. I'm not perfect. I'm not nearly perfect. And I'm not normal, and I'm not nearly normal. But I'm working on it, you know.
Well, Henry, I thank you so much for calling me this morning, and have yourself a nice day, and a happy birthday to you once again.
Thank you, sir. And all you guys out there, you know, just hang in there. If you're having problems, let me hear from you.
Okay. Thank you, Henry.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.